issues on federalism. Do you know what federalism is? Before we start with the issues of federalism, let us know first what is federalism. So federalism is a system of government. It is a system of government in which powers are divided and shared by a central or the federal government and its region, state or the state government. So for example, so this is how it is. The central authority is shared with the regional authority. It is shared. So it is not just the central authority that has powers, but also the regional authority, the regions also have their own power, and the central authority cannot argue with it. So that is federalism. Shared ang power, divided and shared to the state or region. So what is our current system? What are we using now? We are using the unitary system. This is the current form of government. This is what we have here in the Philippines right now. In this system, all powers and authority of the state are vested in the highly centralized government with the following aspects. It has a constitution that outlines the duties, powers, and people of the central government. The LGU, or the local government unit, has its uniform laws called the local government code. So from the central government. So in the unitary system, what we have now is we have the central authority and and they are they have the power over the regional areas, the region. So the region doesn't have their own power. Sunod lang sila kung unsa ang gimando sa central authority. So one-sided lang ang power. The power is in the center, in the central government. And unlike the federalism, the power is in the central or federal government, and also the regions also have the authority or have the power. In unitary, one, when you say unitary, uni means one. So the power is only in the central government. So in unitary system, the central government give power to create lower levels of government like cities, municipalities, provinces, and regions. This power can be changed or taken back at any time. So wala siya, the central power can give power to the lower levels. However, it's not all the time that they give power na ay regulations, and they can always take it back. So the lower levels like the cities, municipalities, provinces, and regions, mag-agad sila sa central government. So centralized ang head. So maghulat lang, mag-agad sa central government. And in terms of the financials, kung unsay maabot, say, it's 70-30. So say in the local government unit in Dumaguete, say in Dumaguete City, we earn our annual disposal of 1 million pesos. Just an example. That is very small, but just an example for you to easily grasp it. So let's say an annual disposal of, we have an annual money of 1 million pesos. 70% of that goes to the central government. So meaning in 1 million, the 700,000 pesos goes to the government, and the 30% or the 300,000 pesos retains in our city. And mo na siyang gamiton for whatever purpose para sa municipality or city, or say Dumaguete City. So that is how the sharing goes in a unitary system. So in federalism, it's not, because that is the mas dako ang because they have their own power. So we'll discuss more about that. And this is the proposed federal states based on a 2008 proposal by former Senator Aquilino Pimentel Jr. So we have Northern Luzon, Central Luzon, and we are here, the Central Visayas. Central Visayas. So if mapadayon ng federalism, federal states, kahit kita, we will have our own advantages later on. We will have our own power. So to further understand federalism, again, when you say federalism, the central government and the region the power is shared or divided. So if under federalism, this will be the national powers. They have their own power na wala sa state or region. So they can maintain military, declare war, establish postal system, set standards for weights and measures, protect copyrights and patents. Shared powers between the national and the state or the region. Say the state, kato mga proposed states earlier, what we've seen. Kani, this is the proposed states. So this will be the power of the state if it happens, or shared powers. They can collect taxes, establish courts, regulate interstate commerce, they can regulate banks within the region. They can borrow money, provide for the general welfare, and punish criminals. Dili na mag-agad og national authority. Or mag-agad man pero they have their own. So shared powers na siya. And what is the power of the state? They can establish local governments. So they can establish their own LGU. Set up schools na dili na mag-agad sa national power, national decision. Can regulate state commerce, make regulations in marriage. So if, let's say, there is a Dumaguete, the head of the state would propose same-sex marriage, then they can make that decision under the law. Dili na mag-agad sa national decision, and establish and regulate corporations. So again, this is the state or domestic authority. Under federalism, say the Central Visayas can have their own law, social order, and justice. Education curriculum, they can create the education curriculum na dili magagad sa national decisions. We can make our own. Tourism and promotion of culture and foreign trade, naa sa state or domestic authority. Again, dili na magagad sa central government or the decision of the president. So some of the countries with federal forms of government are Austria. So again, in history, we always research what has been done. So since these countries, Austria, Russia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Ethiopia, Germany, India, Mexico, Switzerland, USA, and Venezuela, they are already under federalism. So we can learn from them because they have been in that uh, government system of government. The concept of a federal government for the Philippines was first suggested by Jose Rizal, our national hero. He outlined it in his vision of federalist governance on his essay Filipinas dentro de 100 años, the Philippines a century hence. That was published by the Barcelona-based propaganda paper La Solidaridad in 1889. And in 2001, the proponent of the federal government is Senator Aquilino Pimentel Jr. That was since 2001. So see Aquilino Pimentel Jr. And now President Duterte is advocating for federalism. So what are the advantages? Again, these are according to Senator Aquilino Pimentel, R. Mendoza, Miral Jr., REM Jr., the late Supreme Court Chief Justice Claudio Tihanque, and the former Chief Justice Renato Puno. These are their views as the advantages of having a federal state. The sharing of powers in a federal system will ensure that the federal states will have ample powers to develop their own social, economic, and political potential governments. So with adequate powers, the federal states will be able to modernize themselves. So when they are modernized, then it will strengthen the political stability of the whole country. Because if one federal state is good, then the whole country will be good or will be stable. That if maayo ang governance sa federal state. The creation of Bangsamoro Federal State is the only constitutional and legal means of dissipating the causes of Muslim rebellions and of laying the foundations of a just and lasting peace in Mindanao. So if you remember the if you've researched well, most of the reasons like sa Muslim rebellions is kanang sa Bangsamoro, they want their own state. They want to be autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao. They want to have their own power. Wanna, that's the reason they want to have that, and that's the reason why they rebel against the Philippines. And so federalism is the solution to that problem, because when there's federal government, there will be Bangsamoro federal state, and they can have their own power, authority, and authority. So the adoption of the federal system will enable the Bangsamoro a fuller opportunity to promote their own identity and culture. The creation of Bangsamoro federal state, the adoption of the federal system will enable the Bangsamoro a fuller opportunity to promote their own identity and culture and their own economic development at their own pace without the need of seceding or declaring their independence from the republic. So it is good for them if federalism would push through. And another advantages, the concentration of power and resources in the president of the Philippines over fiscal resources and appointments in the bureaucracy can be used to secure economic rents and accumulate wealth, which can be easily abused, ushering in the corruption. So because dili na concentrated ang power of the president of the Philippines, then lesser na ang corruption because the power is being shared by the different federal states. The Philippine experience under a unitary system of government, which is what we are now, limits the space for local governments to take initiatives and become self-reliant because they have to still heed for the national decision. They cannot make their own. So, dili is mga self-reliant ang local governments. In a unitary government, the people are ruled by dynasties, run by economic elite, and threatened by criminal syndicates. I think it's somehow the same in federalism, but we will talk about that later as well. Because this is also part in the under the disadvantages of federalism. So speaking of disadvantages, these are the views of those who opposed federalism. So Davide, C. Habito, J. Butuyan, former Senator Joey Lina, and E. Magay Insyong. Their views. So what are the disadvantages of federalism? Establishing a multi-layer of government structure consisting of central and regional governments will be costly, creating an enlarged and bloated bureaucracy. So that is one disadvantage. It's very costly because magama kag bag-ong structure. Again, this is not just the central government but the regional governments. So mag-establish na pod og regional governments or the states. The Philippine Institute for Development Studies, or the PIDS, puts the additional cost in the range of 44 to 72 billion, not even counting changes in the judiciary if there is a shift to a federal system. So kung from unitary to federal system, mo ni siya ang budget na kinahanglan or more. But then if you look at it, if you go back to the corruption, how much money lost sa corruption, wala rin kwarta, no? Because most of the money is being pocketed. So, and the question is, asa pod kwaon nga kwarta? So that we don't know. Federalism will strengthen political dynasties in the regional governments, perpetrate themselves in power, and amass vast wealth through corruption. So, mo po lagi na, depende kung kinsa ang in power sa federal states, sa mga regional, the congressmen, nga tagaan og power, shared power by the government. Kay kung political dynasty, they're under the family of the political dynasties, then the more na mo asinso ilahang negosyo, right? And the more they'll take advantage of the power. Another disadvantage under here is that, let's say, since they can change the law, they might want to extend their years of term of power. So instead of 3 years, they might use it 6 years or 10 years, the same as what Marcos did. No, he changed ang law, and he was our president for 20 years. Disadvantages. Federalism will make the poor poorer because they will be burdened with taxes of all kinds to support and maintain the federal central government and regional governments. So for example, here in Dumaguete or in Central Visayas, gamay ra ang ato ang income and cannot sustain our demands kung unsay progress na ganaang himuon sa mga congressmen or the politicians. So what they would do, since dili naman we have our own money, i-increase ang taxes para makasupply sa mga kinahanglan or sa mga pabayaran ng utang sa ato ang own region. So, ang katong mga pobre nga region, mosamot og ka pobre pod. And the principle of federalism or local autonomy, subsidiary, and decentralization are already in the 1987 Constitution. Naana ning principle of federalism in 1987. Since in 1987, what needs to be done is to operationalize these principles of federalism. The same with other laws. Naan natay law under 1987 Constitution, wala lang na operationalized, meaning na wala na what do you call this? It's not been done or wala kay tagag priority. The unitary system has carried this nation through tests of fire. The Filipino-American War, the World War II against Japan, rebellion, coup attempts, and war in Marawi. So we've been through a lot and we've made it under unitary system. So mo po na ang ilang defense. So we've passed all through those hurdles in life, hardships of country, and we've made it under the unitary system.